video can help support you collecting your student eBinder links all in one place at the beginning of the year so you can access them anytime in a nice spreadsheet. So here I'm using Google Forms. Google Forms is a Google app for education that you can use for a variety of ways. We give it a title here and here, and then go ahead and add some questions. So I added a text question for student last name and first name. You'll see that these are two separate questions. The reason I like to do it this way is because often if I say last name, comma, first name, I inevitably will have students accidentally do it the other way around. So this is a nice way to separate that to ensure when I am sorting it, maybe by last name, that it's correct. Period is super helpful if you support a variety of students in different periods. You could also do different subjects if you are a multiple subject teacher and you're doing multiple subject eBinders. And then I add some questions here before the students share their eBinder with me. These are items we've done in class. Maybe I have some screencasts that help support them. Maybe I did it live and provided a screencast in case they needed some repetition or some images for them. So to show you what this means, did you add me as editor on your eBinder? That's a tip that I have for educators, is for students to add you as an editor, because it's an ongoing portfolio and there are live updates. This way you can see any live updates and you won't run into an issue if they don't select the publish button. So how do they do this? They will go to their Google Sites eBinder and they'll go right up here to share with others, and they can add you. So for example, if they start typing in your email, it'll pop up right there. You can ask your students to either yes notify or not. If you have them select yes, you will get an email. If you have them select no, then you just won't get that email notification, but it will be in your shared drive. So you will be able to see the student eBinders in your shared drive, and you will be able to edit. So I personally, because I teach middle school and I have over 100 students, I don't need those email notifications, and then I ask them to select share. So hopefully they select yes. I said if no, do so and come back to this. Right here, did you change the publish settings to not click editors must review changes before publishing? So this is the arrow to the right of the blue publish button. This is going to be really important for you to show students as well. So again, before you give them this form, you hopefully will have done this as a class, maybe even walking around and checking in. The time investment is really going to pay out in the future. So what this means is they've dropped down and they've gone to publish settings. And right here, see how this is unchecked? That's what you want. You don't want editors to have to, every single time they make a change, to review changes and select publish. Because what will happen is students will forget to select publish, and if you collect their eBinders and they're saying, oh, I do have it in, but you can't see, that means that they have this checked. So I always use the example of, for example, Nike.com, right? Nike is a website. Nike doesn't want you to see, as the consumer, any changes that are going on. They want to review their changes before they go publish live, right? Well, since this is more of a digital portfolio from student to teacher, then it's okay for editors to see the changes as they're going on. And it just really makes it so much easier and ensures that all live edits are set and students aren't having to press publish every single time they make a change. So unselect this. Right here, search settings, request public search engines to not display my site. They may want to go ahead and select that and save. This is a privacy reason here. All right, so going back here, so hopefully it's a yes and a yes. And then pasting their eBinder link. So by adding you as an editor and changing the publish settings, that is going to be super beneficial, and now they're going to copy their link. You'll note that if they go, for example, to chapter 1 and they copy the link, the end of the URL will actually be the chapter 1, and so every time you go to that link, it'll go to chapter 1. So for this first eBinder collection, just to have them all in one space, it's nice if they just give you the home URL so they can copy that link and then they can go ahead and paste it in. So looking at preview, they would select yes, yes, and then paste that in. And so you can see the end is home instead of chapter 1 or whatever that page might be. All right. And then lastly, just with sharing permissions, depending on your preference, depending on how you have your Google assignments done, we just had some issues with being able to see some assignments. So we had students, whenever they put in a Google app for education, that they changed the share settings to anyone in our domain. And so that's just something special I added on there. If you don't see that as an issue, or if that's already a privacy setting that's set, then you might not need this question. When students are done, they'll press submit. And then on your end, you'll go to responses. So we have one response here. You'll have a whole bunch for your students. If you haven't used Google Sheets outside of Google Forms before to collect all of your information, this is a really, really great feature. So you'll view responses in Sheets. So you'll select this and it'll open a new tab with all of your responses in a Google Sheets, which is basically like an Excel, but in Google. And here's an example here of what this might look like. So it'll give you the timestamp. I've blacked out student names for privacy, and then eBinder links, and then their answers here. Something I like to do is add in a new column for access. And then I go through each link, I open it in a new tab, I make sure that I can see it, number 1, and that I can edit it, number 2. So say this student I can't access, you could fill this box in red or something like that, or put an X, and that way you know you need to go to that student and ask them to either, share the link again or add you as editor. Is this a time investment? Absolutely, but it's going to pay off hugely in dividends in the future, because it's setting you up for that whole year. As far as student periods, say you have students who responded with their various periods, likely you're going to have all the responses in period 1 here because of the timestamp, but you can actually use the sorting feature. So just to show, maybe this was the periods question. You can use the sorting feature. You can click the column that you want to sort, and you can right click it and then sort it A through Z, and that way it'll sort like this. Then what I personally like to do if I have multiple periods of students is I add a new spreadsheet. So you might do one for period 1, double clicking. Okay, and then I take the corner and I take the other corner, so I want between this and all of this to be highlighted. So I press this, I press Shift, hold down Shift, and select the last one that you want to open up. I take my finger off of Shift, I right click and select copy, and then I can paste that information right there. And that way I have all of period 1, 2, 3, and etc., etc. Then I take this and I bookmark it so that I can save it. I also can add it to a specific folder in my drive. Okay, and then if you don't have your bookmarks bar showing, like I don't right now, you can go to bookmarks and you can show your bookmarks bar, and that way you can see where you saved it in your bookmark. And that is a great way for you to collect student eBinders at the beginning of the year once you distribute them. And there are other ways on the blog that are going to go over how you can actually give feedback and collect individual task pages.